Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. As we wind down 2022, I thought it'd be important to look back at the crazy year entrepreneurs and small business owners had, both the good and the bad. How did entrepreneurs like yourself do overall? Did 2022 meet your business expectations? And where do you stand compared to other businesses? So if you want to take a step back and compare yourself to the 32 million small businesses that exist in the US, stick around. I think you're not only going to be surprised by what I'm about to show you, but you'll be able to take some of these lessons into 2023. And be sure you're subscribed because we're doing a part 2 to this video, which will go in depth with what business owners are going to do differently in 2023 to grow and fund their businesses. And thank you for hitting the like button so other entrepreneurs can see this valuable information. So let's dive in. I'm going to share our results from our survey with nearly 1,000 respondents. How would you describe your business situation today? How would you describe your funding situation? Did 2022 meet your expectations? What types of funding did you apply for this year? Do you wish you had more help or not? And what some of you had to say when you filled this out. Let's start at the top. Of the entrepreneurs that filled this out, 51% said they had a business that is generating revenue, compared with 40% that have a business that's not generating revenue and 8% that have an idea for a business. Which bucket are you in? Would love to hear in the comments. And for the 50% who said they had business revenue, here's how their revenue changed throughout 2022. A third of you said it stayed the same. 25% of you said it declined. You have less revenue now than you did at the beginning of the year. 23% said it grew modestly, 11% said it declined substantially, and only 6% said your revenue grew substantially this year. To me, this is very telling. When we look at this, we see that only 30% of businesses had their revenue grow to some extent this year. So if your revenue declined or stayed the same, you're not alone. And in fact, you're in the majority. Next up, we asked, how would you describe your business funding situation? This is really interesting. 66% of you said you didn't receive any funding this year. And remember, until about April this year, there was still tons of EIDL funding being approved, but 2/3 of you said you haven't received any funding. 29% said you received some funding. 3% said you received ample funding, and only 2% said you weren't interested in funding at all. And third here, and also very telling, we asked, how would you describe your business overall? A third of you said you consider yourself in the same position as you were in January of this year. 29% think you're in a weaker position. 21% say you're in a modestly stronger position. 10% in a much weaker position, and only 5% in a much stronger position. Again, very similar to the revenue results. Less than 30% of business owners report being in a stronger position this year, which goes with the macro trend that a lot of businesses had challenges this year. And speaking of, before I share the rest of the results, if you need help going into 2023, whether you want more funding, you want business help, consider getting one-on-one help from our team of experts and our partners. You can go to helloskip.com/join, book a time to talk with us, see how we can work with you to help you get the business growth and funding that you need. helloskip.com/join, or better yet, the special invite link in the description, which will guarantee you get a spot because we typically book up at the beginning of the year. Then we asked, what type of fundings did you apply for this year? A third of you said you applied for Skip grants, which is great to hear. We're doubling the grants we're giving out in 2023. You can always find out more on our app or at helloskip.com/1K. We donate this YouTube revenue back to you in the form of grants. Plus, we're getting more partners in to help sponsor some of these grants so we can substantially increase the number we give out. A third of you applied for EIDL funding, 30% for private grants, and 25% of you said you did not apply for funding. Keep that in mind. I'm going to loop back to that in a minute. And this is interesting too. 12% of you say you applied for SBA 7A funding, which is a great program. So I hope many of you who haven't gone after 7A yet, perhaps consider that as an option. Same with SSBCI. 5% of you have said you've applied for SSBCI funding, or you're starting to apply for it. And finally, we asked a couple statements of the folks who took this. The first was this: I wish I had applied for more funding this year. Nearly 75% of folks somewhat or strongly agreed with that statement. 3 out of 4 of you said you wish you had applied for more funding. 20% were neutral, 5% disagreed, and only 2% strongly disagreed with that statement. And the second statement we asked was this: I wish I had more help with my business. Well, 85% of you agreed with this statement. Only 10% were neutral, and only 3% disagreed. So the vast majority of you said you could use more help for your business. And finally, to round up these initial survey results, the most telling of all, how did 2022 meet your business expectations? Again, not a good sign here. 73% of you said this year did not meet your business expectations. Only 21% of you said it met your expectations, and 5% said this year exceeded your expectations. So if this doesn't show what a challenging year this was for you and your business, I don't know what does. So all in all, many of you who took the survey reported having a difficult year. Revenue was down. This year did not meet your business expectations. You could have used more help and you could have used more funding. Here's what a few of you said. One person said, my business didn't do as well as I wanted to. I needed funding to advertise and get my business out there. Another said, horrible, I am almost considering closing my business, which I do not want to have happen. I do not have access to extra funds and this holds me back. Another quote, the SBA dropped the ball on my application for 2 years. I know a lot of you feel similar to that, especially if you couldn't get the EIDL increases. Another, because I could not get funded for my business never got off the ground. Business did not go as expected. The work is out there, but the lack of staff eliminated the growth potential. Many of you reported the same things. You couldn't get the funding you needed. You couldn't get the customers you needed. Or if you had customers or demand, you couldn't get the staff that you needed to keep up with growth. There was a silver lining here with a lot of you saying that you're starting to figure things out. You're optimistic for 2023, despite the uncertainty with the economic conditions. And on that note, we have a list of what people are going to do differently in the new year to help 2023 be different. If you want 2023 to exceed your expectations, to increase your business revenue, increase your funding, some of these ideas may inspire you, and I'm going to mention those in the next video, so be sure you're tuned in and subscribe for that. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.